Hi there, Pursuing Freedom listeners. Thanks for listening today. This is going to be a fun one. I am having a conversation today with Jess Jimenez with Remax Professionals serving the Denver metro area. And Jess has been in real estate for 5 years now, started in 2013 and joined her dad's team, but she's been doing her own independent business and putting up some really impressive numbers over the last 5 years. But what I love most about Jess is her energy, her personality, her authenticity. The first time I met her, I just knew we were kindred spirits for life. And she is an avid outdoors gal with a passion for fly fishing and hiking and biking. And above and beyond that, she's also really committed to volunteering and giving back. And we're going to talk a little bit about some amazing efforts that she does to support the Leukemia and Lymphoma Foundation. So yeah, I'm really just excited to dig in. I'm talking too much. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and hear from Jess. Jess, we always just want to hear a little bit about your background and tell us a little bit about why and how you got into real estate in 2013 when you did, and we'll just kind of take it from there.
Hey, Erin, thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. I love it. I love what you're doing. So I'm excited to be on this podcast. Let's see. I started real estate 5 years ago. I didn't plan to start real estate 5 years ago. I had planned to actually go into a medical career. I had all my ducks in a row lined up for that. I was applying to schools and so forth. And one day I just had a change of heart. And I decided, you know what? I want to go into real estate. I grew up in a real estate family. My dad's been a broker for, I don't want to make him look old, but maybe 35 years now. And I grew up going to open houses. I grew up going to the office with him, sometimes going to meet clients with him. And I think I just, right then and there, I was like, I have a knack for it. I love it. I'm a people person. I love homes. And most of all, I love Denver. So I think that's what started my career, is just, growing up in the business.
So when you had that change of heart, do you remember what crossed your mind when you made that shift from I'm going to go into medical sales? Because I swear almost every person I've interviewed on this show has fallen, quote unquote, fallen into real estate after doing something else first. So it's always curious to me, what sparked your interest besides just, seeing your dad doing it and thinking it's cool or something.
I actually wasn't going to do medical sales. I was actually going to school to be a PA. I wanted to be a physician assistant.
Okay.
And I had some health stuff happen right around that same time, and like just some personal family health stuff. Sadly, I lost a couple of people that I was close to, and like it just totally flipped my switch for me. It was just like, you're way too big of an empathetic person to go down this road. And at the time, I was doing a little bit of real estate related stuff for a company I worked for. And I just loved it. Everything about it I loved. And, the energy that it brings, your day is different every single day. You meet a ton of different people. So I think that's kind of what made the switch for me. It was like, medical's not for me. I just don't think I could do it. And then I found all the reasons why I loved real estate. And I was like, let's do it.
So what did your dad say when you told him you had a change of heart?
Absolutely not. You are not going into the real estate business, was his exact words, I think.
Did you say absolutely not?
Yes, absolutely not were his exact words.
That's hilarious.
That's
not the first time someone has said this on this show, by the way, that they decided to get into real estate with their parents and their parents said, hell no. So that makes me laugh. What do you say? I've never asked anybody this, but what do you say when someone tells you they're thinking about getting into real estate?
Are you sure? Is my first question.
And then you start all the reasons why they shouldn't and start warning them.
Yes. It's a great business, but it's a hard business. And I think that was my father's concern for me. It was, you don't have a consistent paycheck, or, you have to work weekends. You have to work evenings sometimes. The phone's constantly ringing. He's like, it takes a certain person to do real estate full time. So I think he was just trying to protect me, of course, like a father. But he was just like, okay, you want to do it? We're all in. Let's go. I will be your mentor. I will answer any questions you have. but this is your deal. You need to find your own business, and I will be here to support you. But I had to do it my way, and you're going to have to do it your way. So,
Well,
but
that's interesting.
at the end of the day, it's been great.
So you were not a buyer's agent on his clients. You went 100% commission right out of the gates?
Right out of the gates. I never, in my first years, have I, nope, I was not his buyer's agent. I just started, I was working a job at the time, and I was working full-time, 9 to 5. My boss and my job was super flexible at the time. And I was showing clients at lunchtime. I was showing them after work when I got off at 5 p.m. And then I remember one day I told my dad, hey, I'm getting to the point where I'm pretty busy and I can't just show houses at lunchtime and I can't show houses after work. And he's like, well, it's sink or swim. You've got to figure it out now. You know, you're getting a client base and you're doing well. And so I just quit the job and I went all in. But it took me a while. I kept that job and I was scared for a while because I'm like, how am I going to do this? Am I going to be able to make means meet? So yeah, I was never a buyer's agent for him.
How long did you keep the full-time job while moonlighting real estate?
I kept the full-time job probably for about a year.
My gosh. Now, would you recommend that to a new agent?
I don't know if I would recommend it. It's hard. It was hard. It was definitely hard. And I was working sometimes until like midnight. Because I'd get home and then I'd show houses and then I'd have to write the contracts and I was still learning. If there's a way that you can do it and just pound the pavement right away without having that job, I suggest just go all in. But it was super difficult. It was difficult. So I don't know if I would suggest that, actually.
I feel like real estate, people in our industry and real estate and lending, we tend to be pretty high energy. And so a lot of us will do that. We'll work multiple jobs while trying to build our business. And I remember I had a business coach that told me I needed to cut the fat and just harness all my energy and pour it into the one thing that was ultimately going to give me the financial freedom, which is one of the benefits of this business.
That's funny that you say that, because that's exactly what it was like a sink or swim type of deal. It was like, okay, if you're going to put all your energy into this, you're going to make it. You know, it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. I was just a little nervous at the time, so that's kind of the route I took. But I think if I could do it again, I probably would have quit my other job a little sooner and just went full throttle. But it was a security net, and and they were great. I'm still friends with them till this day, and they're old bosses of mine. They're just wonderful people. So it worked out how it should have worked out. Yeah. But I wouldn't suggest it.
Well, no, it's funny because as you're saying that, I'm thinking about how you're almost never ready, right? You're almost never ready to go 100% commission. It's about having that belief and that faith that you can do it. And then if you believe in yourself and you believe you're going to be good at it, you just do whatever it takes until it clicks. And that sometimes requires, jumping without the safety net. And it's kind of like having kids. You're never really totally prepared. And then you have them and you're like, well, we better figure this out. So,
yes. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, yeah, it's just, you just run with it and you learn what to do and you figure it out along the way.
So what did you do when you jumped in? I mean, what kind of activities did you start doing and what kind of, what kind of systems and mentoring did you receive from your dad or from others?
So luckily, like I said, I have my dad to mentor me, give me some tips. Not only that, he has business partners that have also been in the business for a long time, and they were just great having around. I could ask a million questions, and each of them gave me a different point of view. But the thing that I've learned from all of them, and especially my dad, is the old school systems, which is so funny, like the knocking of the doors, the sending letters in the mail, the farming with postcards are still some of my main three go-tos, I guess you can say. I knocked on doors when I first started. I wrote letters to houses all over North Denver if I thought I had a client or if I thought they wanted to sell their house. And postcards. I think postcards go a long way. Like, I like getting stuff in the mail that not junk mail, but I like getting things that are useful or that have a purpose. So I'm like, I'll send something in the mail that someone would like to get. And I still do those things to this day. And then I think networking was one of my biggest things. Like I was always out meeting new people. I was going to dinners. I was going to coffee. I was, going to Rockies games. I was inviting people to go with me. All of those things I still do. So I think networking was a very big part of my success. And then from there, referrals came in.
Did you set up goals in the beginning of how many people you wanted to be face-to-face with? Or was it more just, you know what, I'm young, I'm energetic, and I'm just going to say yes to every opportunity I have? Or, did you have a game plan in mind when you set out on your activities?
No, actually. So when I first started, it was more along the lines of, I have the energy, I'm just going for it. So I would just go for it. I think I was networking 4 to 5 times a week in the evening. And then sometimes in the day, it would be the coffee or the lunch or whatever it may be. And I was just kind of going for it. There was no system or no goal of how many people I had to come in contact with. It was just get out there, meet people, get your name out there, that kind of thing. I didn't really have anything in place when I first started. Now I have more goals, and I have yearly goals, personal goals, business goals that I do meet. But no, then it was just get out there and hustle.
Do you consider yourself someone who's pretty good at asking for referrals, or was it more just that it came up organically in conversation and people know you're a realtor and then that's it? Or are you like pretty intentional with like, hey, if you know somebody, you think of me, that kind of thing?
I think I walk a fine line there, to be honest. I am more organic. I believe that the relationship comes first, the sale comes second. So I think that if people get to know you and they know who you are as a person, they know what you do for work, and yet I still put myself out there in a real estate, way, but that's not the first thing. Like I want them to know me as a person, who I am. And I think that way it establishes a relationship, and then the sale comes next. So I think I walk a line there. I don't really push the real estate thing right away. But I will in a nonchalant sort of way.
I like that. I think that's going to be the title of the show. I like that. The relationship comes first and the sale comes second. That's awesome. So speaking of relationship, I would love to talk a little bit about, I know that you're involved heavily in just giving back in the community. And I love that because I'm a big believer that business success is only great if there's also life success, and being able to have both time and financial freedom is always a goal of mine and for my clients. And so I love that you're so involved in helping others. So talk to us a little bit about some of the organizations that you're involved with, because I think it's always nice to hear.
So I think I started giving back in college, because I had to. I went to Regis University, and it was a Jesuit school, and I had to have so many hours of giving back. And then from there, it was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I feel good every time I leave, and I'm helping others. It was no longer like I had to have this amount of hours put in. I have to do this in order to graduate. It was something that came like second nature, basically, and it was something I enjoyed. So, during Christmas time and during the holidays, my family and I put on a sack lunch project, and we make sack lunches, and then we deliver them down by the rescue mission, which is basically what I did in college. So just kind of mirrored what they were doing at Regis, but everyone kind of does it. So it's just kind of nice to give back to homeless people and, those that are not as fortunate. It's what me and my dad have always said, you gotta help others that can't help themselves right now. And then I give back to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And that's probably my biggest one of the year. I put on a fundraiser every year about August or September. My mother was diagnosed with leukemia back in 2004. And at the time, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society was not as big as some of the major, like breast cancer, the walks, all that stuff. It was just a smaller society. And so, I started raising money, and we do the walk around Wash Park every year. And little by little, every year, I'd get a little bit more money. And I was seeing people wanted to be super involved. Everyone was like, hey, what can I do? I want to do the walk this year. And so I finally was just like, you know what? I have a big enough sphere. I have a ton of people in the family, a ton of friends, all loving, caring. I can probably put on a fundraiser. So I decided to start a fundraiser last year. This year will be my second year. And Local 46 on 46 in Tennyson, they give me the free event space. Tickets are typically around $25, $30. This year it's $30. Includes drink, ice cream, and appetizers. And then we kind of do some small silent auction stuff. And all the money goes to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And I think it's just something that's near and dear to my heart. And,
when is the next event?
Just good. The next event is actually this Thursday, which is, what day is that? This Thursday, and it's from 6 to 9 p.m. at Local 46. And a portion of sales and drinks all go towards the fundraiser.
And then how do you go about marketing that event? Is this just something that goes out to your database from your sphere and your real estate business, or are you also doing flyers or, social media? Like what does the marketing of the event look like?
So I just basically did to my sphere. I do it a little bit on Facebook, not much. It was more of a private invite. And then it's just my sphere, to be honest. Family, friends right now. I think next year I'll probably try and take it to the next level and make it a little bigger. I've tried to do so every year. But with, our busy schedules, sometimes I gotta keep the reins a little bit tight just because I can't handle all of it. But I'm hoping to get some help next year on board and just make it a little bigger every year.
That's what I was going to ask you. You run this event by yourself?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And you're finding silent auction donors and everything on your own?
Yes.
Holy moly. So do you want it to be kept at a certain number, or is it something that you'd like to see grow into, a few hundred people in the coming year?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see it grow. Right now, I think last year I had about 70 people show up, and that was probably just with a couple months with very limited advertisement. And same this year. I hope to have those same numbers. And then hopefully next year I can push it to the 100, 150, with getting in front of more people and just raising more awareness and so forth, and just being able to get in front of more people for silent auction items and so forth. It's just been a little difficult with running around. So yeah, I do hope to make it grow over the next couple of years.
So between running the events, doing mailers, networking, tending to your clients, marketing, all this other stuff, do you have anybody helping you with any of that? Or do you do all of your own mailers, all of your own marketing? Do you have any?
No, I definitely have help. At first I did not have help, and I actually remember meeting you a couple of years ago, whenever that was, which we were having margaritas. And I remember you saying, if you want to get to the next level, you've got to have help, because consistency is key. And my dad's always said that as well. So I do have help. I have a transaction coordinator who helps me with a lot of my stuff. She keeps me in line. She tells me my dates. She's constantly sending me reminders. But I still do a lot of the hands-on stuff myself, like my own mailers and so forth. I'll order all of those, and then, I get help sending them out and so forth. But I definitely have help behind the scenes.
Where do you get your mailers from?
I get my mailers. It depends. I get them from a local company called Scott and Kohler. And then I do a lot of my own stuff on Vistaprint. I create my own stuff, like for my farming things. And then a local company, DVC Digital, they work with RE/MAX a lot, and a couple other, big companies in Denver. They do great mailers as well. And they're very creative, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of create them myself, have someone look them over, and then, I have help getting them out.
That's awesome. And you mentioned farming. So what neighborhood are you farming in Denver?
I farm a couple different neighborhoods. So I farm my neighborhood, which is the West Highlands. I grew up in West Highlands. My family lived off of 26 in Raleigh, which was right by Sloan's Lake at the time. And so I live a couple blocks from there now, and I just farm the whole West Highlands neighborhood. And then I actually farm the West Colfax neighborhood. which is basically just south of Colfax Boulevard from Sheridan to Federal. And it's from blocks 1400 to the 1200 block.
Awesome. So
that's kind of where the new Little Man ice cream and all that stuff's going in.
So this is actually the first time we've talked about farming on the show. What kind of activities do you do to get yourself in front of those neighborhoods?
So the one that I've had the most luck with was this last year, actually. And being on Tennyson, on 39th and Tennyson, where my office is, there's a ton of small businesses that are great. You get to meet the owners. You pop in, you show face, they get to know you. And I co-marketed with the new Wits custard, and it's this cutest little custard place on 38th and Tennyson. And we did a flyer together, and it said, "Come in for one free scoop of custard, your choice, and get one free." And then on the card, it had like this cheesy, great little slogan that said, "Call Jess for the real estate scoop."
Oh, cool.
And I got a ton of activity from it. I had
cute.
neighbors calling, and yeah, it was just kind of silly, goofy, but it did the trick. I got in front of a ton of people. They were going into Wits and handing in their card and getting their one free scoop. And then I had neighbors that were like, "Hey, Jess, can you do this for me? Can you run numbers for me?" It just created a lot of relationships that I didn't have in my neighborhood. So I get random calls or, all the stuff that comes with farming. So it was great. So I think that was probably my most successful postcard to date.
Awesome. And then just out of curiosity, kind of a random question, but do you have a CRM that you use when you're adding new contacts and trying to keep it all organized?
I don't do a CRM, but I do have my own database that I have myself, and I enter that all into all of that into my systems. So not necessarily a CRM, but something similar.
Awesome. And then some of the things you mentioned sound very reminiscent of some coaching programs that I've known over the years. Have you been a part of any coaching programs or hired any coaches over the years?
I have. I have a life coach, and I don't use her as consistently as I was using her, but I do pick up where I left off, and she does help me, sometimes with sales stuff, but sometimes just like if you're feeling in a rut or whatever it may be, she kind of just gives you that little emphasis of, hey, you don't need to change much, you just got to change a little bit. So I do use some life coaches and that kind of stuff. Yes, I do.
And then what about have you been influenced by any real estate seminars or events that, have been pivotal for you in your journey and learning how to be a better business owner, a better marketer, or anything of that sort?
I not so much not on that note. More or less, I just am class type of person. I'm always taking classes. I'm always trying to learn new stuff, or I'll even agents in my office. I feel like we have some really big hitters in our office, and I'll go in and ask for meetings, kind of like a one-on-one, hey, can I pick your brain? What did you do in the first 5 years of your business, or what worked best for you, or those kind of things. So not really any seminars or anything like that, but I do try and make time to always connect with someone that knows more than me.
Well, I think that's huge. And we've talked about that before, is just the fact that, you need to be spending time with people that are ahead of you in the game, and be hungry all the time. Just always be hungry to learn, because no matter how long you've been in this business, whether it's 5 years or 50 years, you're still going to be learning something new every day. And there's no point at which you arrive in the business, right? You always have to be improving and working and staying plugged in and staying involved, because otherwise, it'll just dry up. It really does require your energy and attention all the time. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, it definitely does. And you like you said it best, you'll just dry up. There's so many new things going on. There's so many people now in the business. There's all sorts of stuff to be learned. And I think that surrounding yourself with people that know more than you is I think, my number one thing that I try and do. Like that's what I've always done from the get-go, and I still continue to do it.
So of all the people that you've got mentoring from, like your dad and his partners and the other folks in the office that are putting up big numbers, is there any advice that you've ever received that's just stuck with you as like something amazing that you'll never forget, and a reminder every day of, you know, how to stay on target?
Yes. So I think the one biggest thing that I've heard someone say is find your why. So we have a why every day, right? We have a why we're doing this. We have a why we need to meet this. We have a why of what's happening. And that why can be big, and that why could be small. You ask yourself why, like, what's your why? And I think that stuck with me. It's not like my why is because I need to hit all of these numbers. My why is I want to create relationships. I want people to love their home. I want, I think that's the biggest thing that stuck with me is what's your why? And I think once you find your why, everything else follows.
So is that what you come back to when you just need a boost? Like I always talk to people about how in this business, you know, we're inevitably going to have good days and bad days, because if we operate mainly as an island when you're self-employed, it's up to you to stay motivated. It's up to you to stay positive and excited. So is that your method of just keeping your mindset positive, is just always coming back to your why?
Yep. It really is. I think, and I set my goals around that for the year. Like, what's your goal for the year? Why is that your goal for the year? And you can always find a new why. Like, my why this year is different from my why 3 years ago. And so I think that's always stuck with me. And I always just try and find my why on a bad day, on a good day, all of the above. And that's one piece of advice that stuck with me for all these years.
I have to send you something I think you'll really enjoy. It's this process for arriving at your goals and your business plan. And you can do it at the end of the year for next year, or you can do it anytime. And I do it sometimes 2 or 3 times in a given year, because I feel like you just said your why from 3 years ago is different from your why today. And even so, like your goals 6 months ago could be different than your goals today based on what's happened in the last 6 months. But I have this really cool questionnaire that I just adapted over the years since first receiving it, probably in 2011 or something. And you basically go through all these very specific questions where you're kind of reflecting on the last 12 months, and then your values and what's important to you and your goals, everything just starts to come out on the paper as you kind of work through these questions. And then the next thing you know, your why and your like banner goals for the next 12 months become crystal clear. And if you read them every day, it makes it really easy to kind of just get out of bed in the morning and read your goals, get back to the basics, and then get on with your day with like a really positive mindset. And yeah, I'll have to share that with you. I'll send it to you. Cause I would love that. Like, I've worked through it. I don't know how many times. I've already done it twice this year, and it's the best. It's awesome.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I change up my why often.
So do you have it clearly defined? Do you know it off the top of your head? I don't want to put you on the spot here.
Let's see. What did you say? I'm sorry, I missed you there.
Do you want to share it with us? I don't want to put you on the spot.
The big why?
Yeah.
Is my whole why. You know what? I think it's helping people. And I think you kind of could gather that from this whole podcast. It's not just a sale to me. It's finding someone the home that they love, or creating the new memories, or helping someone find a great investment for a better retirement. It's about the relationship, to be honest. It's never really about the sale for me. And I think that translates to the joy that is in my life because of all of that and the relationships that come with it. So I think that's my big why.
Well, I love it. I mean, you pretty much just nailed it on the head, because what a lot of people miss in our business is that when they're only focused on the deals and the transactions and what's missing in their life, they find themselves stuck. But if you focus on what you're passionate about, which is creating relationships, giving back to your community, sprinkling in outdoor adventure and living your life with passion and purpose, you find that you will attract the business that you're ultimately seeking. And those transactions come as a byproduct of you, living your life with purpose. And so I think you do it really well. And it's been fun to see your journey up to now. And I'm excited to see where you're headed. I mean, do you have any big goals in mind for the next year?
For the next year, I've got a couple things in place. I think one of the things I didn't share is my dad does development now. He kind of does not take the buy and sell. He will, just because he's had a lot of clients over the past and they've been special to him and they've created the successful business that he's had. But he's gone into the development side of things. And I myself love the development side of things. And I think that's part of my business. Actually, the biggest part of my business is development. I'm into the land. I'll find land deals. I know exactly what can go on land. And then that kind of gives me an incentive, because if I could find land and someone's going to build on it, then that gives me an automatic 2 sales, 3 sales, 4 sales for the following year. So I'm kind of creating my next year by finding these land deals for developers or for, people that want to build. And so I've been doing that for the last couple of years, and that's been a big part of my business. But I think part of me is looking into how I can do that myself in the next couple of years.
Awesome. Well, that's fun to watch. So yeah, that's exciting. I didn't even know that. Well, great. Well, thank you so much. I know your schedule is busy and fun and awesome, so I appreciate you carving out some time to be a guest on the show, because I know the listeners always get value from hearing from top performers and people that are living a balanced life in spite of the chaos of our industry. So I really appreciate you being on the show. If you wouldn't mind, just let us know how folks can get in touch with you if they have real estate questions in the Denver market or just want to pick your brain about anything you mentioned today.
Yeah. So I think the best way to contact me is actually by phone. Whether it's a call, whether it's a text, my phone number is 303-260-8122. And that's probably the best form of communication for me. I always have my phone with me, so can't miss it.
Awesome. Well, I wish you continued success, and I appreciate you again. For those of you who are listening, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, please, please, please go and subscribe on iTunes and leave a review, because it helps folks find the podcast, and it also helps us continue to attract great guests. So I really appreciate you, and thank you in advance for any review you can leave, and hook a sister up. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being on the show, Jess, and we'll talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. I had a great time, and hope to see you soon, hopefully in the mountains.
Yes.
You too. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Bye-bye.